On your Monday episode of Locked On Raptors, we still have 3 weeks left to dream about what Cooper Flagg would look like on the Toronto Raptors before the draft lottery inevitably breaks our hearts. And so we'll do just that. What would Cooper Flagg look like on the Toronto Raptors? Pretty sick, I'd say.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Monday, April the 21st, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can also find the show on Instagram, and you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. Come hang out. Great place to talk ball amongst pals. Lots of playoff talk going on in there. Lots of Rockets slander. It's all good times. Come be part of our listener community. You can also, of course, subscribe for free to the daily Locked On Raptors newsletter. QR code on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, link in the description of the podcast. If you're listening on audio, it is 100% free, and you get original writing from me 5 days a week about your local basketball team. Much appreciated when you support. And we'll tell you later on how you can win some stuff by going to subscribe between now and the end of the month. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And we are off and running here on your Monday edition of the show, where we're going to dream a little bit. We're going to get ambitious. We're going to think about a world in which the stars align and the Toronto Raptors find themselves winning the draft lottery and drafting one Cooper Flagg, first overall at the draft in late June. It would be pretty sweet. So we're going to get into what it would mean for the team next year, what it would mean for the team over the next 5 to 10 years. I tell you what, lots of pretty good things. And we'll get into a bit of a scouting report on Cooper Flagg in case you forgot. He was obviously a big part of March Madness and had a really incredible season at Duke. We'll run through a full scouting report, all that good stuff. While we still have time to dream, 3 weeks, 7.5% chance at number one overall for your Toronto Raptors. It's surely going to end in tears and sadness, but there's that faint glimmer that we can lean on and bank on and frankly get off-season episodes recorded with. So we'll do that here. A reminder of Cooper Flagg's whole deal. He's very good. He's 18 years old. He's a 6'9" combo forward out of Duke, reclassified to enter college a year early. So what he did this season, where he was the best player in college basketball, won every award there is to win in college basketball. I think 3 different Player of the Year awards, the Wooden Award, the AP Player of the Year, the Naismith Award, all go to Cooper Flagg. He was ACC All-Defense, All-Tourney Team, All-American, all everything. He's very good. And the numbers he put up over the course of the year are as follows: 19.2 points a game, 7.5 boards, 4.2 assists, 1.4 steals, and 1.4 blocks. Okay. 38.5% from deep, 51.7% on twos, 84% from the line, 59.3% true shooting on 31% usage. Yeah, that's pretty good. Led the entire NCAA in box plus minus per Basketball Reference. Led his conference in basically every advanced metric Basketball Reference has on offer. He's flat out one of the best college basketball prospects we have ever seen. Maybe Anthony Davis was the last guy of his quality among college guys. Zion Williamson, I suppose, qualifies here too. He's really damn good. And there's almost no precedent for a guy with that resume not becoming like a star impact level guy in the NBA. So just sit with that for a second. Want to add that guy to your team? I sure do. It would be pretty sweet. He's basically exactly what he's been billed to be over the course of his lead up to college, through his high school career. He's been one of these prospects. You get him every, 4 or 5 years or so, where they kind of get tracked from their AAU days all the way into college and the pros. And he's one of the few guys who just kind of has paid it all off. He's going to be the number one pick. It's not even a question. He 100% should be the number one pick. And whoever gets him is getting a damn good player. There's a lot about Cooper Flagg's game to like. I think you probably start on the defensive end, where he's just this like immense defensive prospect. Honestly, not in a dissimilar way to Scottie Barnes, who, of course, was an extremely good defensive player this year, is certainly going to put himself into all defense conversations once the Raptors start racking up more wins as a team. What he did individually was pretty impressive. And what Cooper Flagg does defensively, it's very much the same. A lot of event creation, right? Steals, blocks, blowing up possessions just with his smarts and his instincts and the way that he can kind of track where a possession's going and meet it at the apex and swat it down. I think you see him with secondary rim protection. It's really effective, kind of coming over as that help guy to clean up messes that get all the way to the rim. He can dance with guys in space. He's switchable. Like, you're going to be able to play him in a bunch of different schemes. He's a really, really exciting defensive prospect. And hey, the Raptors could badly use some defensive juice. Obviously, Scottie Barnes is a great start. Jakob Poeltl was quite good this year. They got, I think, a better than average season from Immanuel Quickley when he played. Jamal Shed projects well. Jacoby Walter projects well. Ochai Agbaji is fine. But adding another no-brainer defensive prospect, that would be pretty darn sweet wherever the Raptors pick, right? Like, I'm fully on for Kaman Malawach, Cooper Flagg's Duke teammate, if they draft a little bit later on. I'm super into all the guys who have some defensive juice, some two-way potential. VJ Edgecombe being another one. Ace Bailey, I think, has some defensive upside as well. But Cooper Flagg might just be the best defensive prospect in the draft. You could say Kaman Malawach probably, because I might actually, because he's just enormous, and the impact of being 7'2" with a 7'6" wingspan and mobility is pretty hard to match for a wing. But either way, the defensive stuff with Cooper Flagg is really impressive on its own. And then you get into the offensive stuff where he's a damn good player. Again, super efficient this year. Near 60% true shooting on 31% usage. He had a massive offensive burden for that Duke team, and he was awesome in basically every respect. If you kind of dig into the scouting, and obviously there's lots of people I trust. I like No Ceilings a lot. Keandre over at Hoop Intellect, former guest of the show, hopefully future guest of the show, has a lot of great stuff out on Cooper Flagg, a really great recent video breakdown if you want to go check out the Hoop Intellect YouTube channel. The sort of book on Cooper Flagg is he's probably more advanced right now in like an NBA sense as like an off-ball scorer. He was a good catch and shoot 3-point guy. He's a good cutter, gap filler, that type of thing. And then, the interesting stuff beyond that is his potential as like a powerful wing creator. And there's a lot to like already, even if that is the thing in his game that needs to be refined the most. I think, if we're going to compare him to Scottie Barnes again, he's a similar type of guy to what I think, you hoped the ceiling would be for Scottie Barnes coming into the season as an offensive creator from the wing. I think Flagg probably has a little more upside to tap into. Again, he's just 18 years old and he just dominated the NCAA, which, hey, like the NCAA, it's increasing in overall quality because you have guys staying longer in college, older players playing deeper into their careers. You have the COVID, elongated eligibility that leads some teams to be older, more seasoned, more veteran, et cetera, et cetera. It's not like it's going to beat up on like a G League team. That's not even fair because the G League's really good too. It's not like it's going to, the Aussie League and destroying everybody because you're just the best guy. It's a really good league. And Cooper Flagg was damn good offensively against really good NCAA defenses within the confines of college basketball, spacing and things like that. Ran a lot of pick and roll and was quite successful. And on his sort of drives, again, I think there's a little more explosiveness there to kind of beat guys in the first step. And then he has a bunch of counters. We even saw this in the game they lost to, Houston in the Final Four, where, Cooper Flagg got off a really damn good look that would have put Duke ahead late in that game just by driving, sort of spinning into a little turnaround fadeaway from 15 feet away. I think he gets a lot of separation on his jump shot. I think he's able to just sort of, either bump guys off, or the way he elevates, it makes it tough to block. I think that's a really impressive part of his creation package as a player. The passing is still very good. It's not maybe like Scottie Barnes level, like visionary passing, but it's very good. He can kind of make all the reads you need to make. And I just think there is the upside of like a lead creative wing in there in Cooper Flagg. It is the thing that's going to be his sort of swing skill, right? It's not perfect. His on-ball creation stuff, his interior finishing, it's going to be the thing that swings his game from, being what I think is like his floor is going to be just like a damn good second banana guy who can anchor a defense or be like a huge part of a really good defense, who's probably going to still score 20 plus for you as like a secondary scorer type, who's maybe not creating every time down the floor. His upside, if he can refine the creation stuff, which again is pretty advanced for a guy who was 17 years old at the start of his college season, His upside is like full on, like, okay, you can run your offense through this guy and expect to have a pretty good offense. That's where this thing can go with Cooper Flagg on offense. End of the day, like I said, he's basically everything he's been billed, and he'd absolutely pop the ceiling off this Raptors team if they were to draft him, if they were to get lucky enough to move up to number one with that 7.5% chance. And the effects of having Cooper Flagg could be felt as early as next season when it comes to the sort of sweeping change it would bring to the franchise and its prospects. We will examine that and what Cooper Flagg would mean for the Raptors next season coming up here in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. Playoff season means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo, that is, from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use the code Wingstop50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, totally free. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms apply. And of course, if you're in Canada and Wingstops are hard to come by, we might have a couple locations here. But if it's tough to come by, don't worry, because Dash Pass can get you all kinds of extra great deals when you order from your local institutions as well. So here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass. Use the code Wingstop50 to unlock the wonderful 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the next day deal with a $20 or order and code Wingstop50. That is Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. And please tip your drivers well. Back at it here on your, what the hell day is it? Monday episode of Locked On Raptors, talking about Cooper Flagg. I got into Daydream. I got into Fantasy World. I forgot what days are what days. So yeah, let's get back to it. Cooper Flagg ran through why he's such a good prospect. And now we're going to get into what it would mean for the Raptors next season, who of course are primed to kind of power out of their rebuild a little bit. They've assembled this roster of, pretty deep 1 through 10, 1 through 11 of guys who project to be NBA players next season. It's very exciting. And I mean, I think the job that the front office has done to sort of transform the roster from what it was a year ago is maybe not getting enough credit. They've done a damn good job. This is like a real team that they have going into next year, assuming health from Brandon Ingram. And I've made the point that the Raptors stand to gain as much as anybody in the lottery from jumping up to that top spot. You could argue maybe Philly just because of the predicament they find themselves in. But I think a lot of these other teams, Cooper Flagg will be a nice first piece for them, a nice building block, but it's going to take a longer time for whatever team he gets drafted to. If it's one of the real dregs of the league, the Nets, the Jazz, the Wizards, one of these teams, the Hornets, it's probably going to take a little longer for them to kind of figure their stuff out around Cooper Flagg. Whereas the Raptors, you get Cooper Flagg, you can hit the ground running next season. He kind of bolsters you as much as rookies don't often help you win basketball games. We've seen in recent years, guys drafted very high, they're kind of the exceptions at times. And Cooper Flagg does seem pretty ready to make like an impact on an NBA floor. Maybe not like star impact right away, because that's really damn hard to do, but he's really advanced. He just completely cooked the entire college scene as a guy who should have been a senior in high school. He's a different kind of prospect. And so I think you could bake in some element of positive production next year, even if he's just like a pretty good defensive player who doesn't give a ton to you offensively as a creative type. That's a really nice player to just drop into this team, and it helps bolster what should be, a push to, you hope a top 6 or 7 seed. I think if you add Cooper Flagg to this team, you maybe take them as like one of the favorites to be a top 6 seed. Maybe if you're really ambitious and think Cooper Flagg can, kind of assimilate right away, you pick them to be like a 4 seed and get home court in the first round. Like that's totally on the table here, considering the depth they're going to have and the way depth can help you win in the regular season. I think he probably has to start if the Raptors do get lucky enough to take him, just so you can kind of bring him along and give him as many reps as possible, play him with the best players on the team, all of that. I think the idea of Immanuel Quickley, Brandon Ingram, Cooper Flagg, Scottie Barnes, Jakob Poeltl starting unit makes a lot of sense. It's absolutely humongous. You get shooting from IQ and Brandon Ingram if he's willing, which, it seems by all accounts that he is, to take more threes the way he has at the best moments of his Pelicans career. Flagg, I think, solid enough shooter that you can kind of stick in a corner if you need to, and hopefully he knocks down the cursory amount. You hope Scottie ticks back up a bit. Spacing will be the thing that kind of gums up the works if the works are to be gummed up with that lineup. But you want to try scoring on that lineup? Quickley, Ingram, Barnes, Flagg, Poeltl. Good luck, man. The Raptors are really good with just Barnes and Poeltl on the floor this year. You replace RJ Barrett with Cooper Flagg and his defensive juice. You move Brandon Ingram to the 2, where he's this enormous 6'8", 6'9" guy with arms that goes for days. You're looking at a defense that could be really special pretty quickly, I think, and maybe even be top 10 as early as next season. That's a recipe to go and win games. That's pretty sweet. I think, the other thing I really like about this idea, the concept of Cooper Flagg on the Raptors, is the lineup versatility would open up for them too. I've talked a lot about how I think Scottie Barnes playing the 5 is going to be a way they fill in a lot of the Jakob Poeltl bench minutes next year. I think Scottie has shown in his career a capacity to play the 5 just fine. He can hold up there defensively, especially against backup 5s around the league. And if you can have a Scottie Barnes, Cooper Flagg 4-5 with the defensive juice they bring, you have the length of Brandon Ingram at the 3. Maybe you roll in a Jacoby Poeltl or a Grady Dick for shooting at the 2 with Immanuel Quickley. You're cooking with gas, man. Like, that's a way to just kind of expand the types of lineups you can throw out, the different ways you can play. And, you don't want Scottie on the floor. He's on the bench. Then maybe like a Jonathan Mobo looks better as a backup 5 with Cooper Flagg there protecting the rim next to him as well. Like, I think there is a lot you can do just to elongate lineups just by dropping Cooper Flagg into this team. Wings, man, they're important. They're good. They make you very effective at playing all kinds of different styles of basketball. And Cooper Flagg, I think, would really unlock a lot of those possibilities next to Scottie Barnes. Like, just those two guys together. 3-4, 4-5, whatever you want, man. Like, really intriguing, considering how similar their skill sets are. They can kind of take turns guarding lead wings while the other guy is kind of filling in the gaps. This has always been my concern of, Scottie playing with guys like RJ Barrett and Grady Dick, is like he's got to take on those wing assignments often, and it just kind of takes him away from the place where he really affects the game as that backside sort of help rim protector. Okay, well, you move Scottie to the wing, and all of a sudden you have Cooper Flagg doing that again. Well, that's pretty sweet. And so, yeah, I just think it opens up a lot. It would be real vindication for the Vision 6'9" truthers still out there. I'm like half one of them. To see Cooper Flagg, Scottie Barnes play together with Brandon Ingram out there. Pretty exciting stuff, all told. And again, I think it just makes them probably a favorite to make the playoffs, maybe have them in the running for home court in the first round. It just having a deep team, like a rotation of Ingram, Quickley, Flagg, Barnes, Poeltl, Barrett, Walter, Dick, Abaji, Shed, Battle, Mobo. That's a lot of talent. That's a lot of NBA players. And yeah, this is the big thing is you get Cooper Flagg, the tax becomes an unavoidable conversation. There's a way right now where the Raptors stay where they are, drop a little bit, and the tax thing sorts itself out, and they don't have to worry about it going into next year. But if they jump up and get Cooper Flagg, you're paying the first overall rookie scale to Cooper Flagg. That puts them into the tax for next season, basically by default. And, that's going to create a need for some decisions. The decision either to move on from an RJ Barrett or Ochai Agbaji before you have to pay him. He's extension eligible. Or the decision to just pay the tax, which Masai Ujiri said last week. The money's there to pay the tax if we have the talent in hand. And I don't know, man. You get Cooper Flagg on this team, maybe that qualifies as having the talent on hand to justify paying the tax. I certainly would be advocating for it. Obviously, having a $28 million sixth man and RJ Barrett's not like super ideal. But here's the thing, like having Cooper Flagg on the team changes your financial leeway a lot because you have potential star level impact at rookie scale money for 4 years. That's a big thing. It's like one of the biggest team building advantages there is. And maybe that's more of a thing we'll get into over the 5 to 10 year outlook of having Cooper Flagg on the team. But, for next year, I do think it kind of allows you to say, hey, like we just got this massive infusion of talent from Cooper Flagg. Yeah, RJ Barrett makes a lot of money, but having him as a 6-man who can start if someone gets hurt, if Ingram is injured, you need some injury insurance. You can, easily slot in RJ Barrett for Brandon Ingram and still maintain that 3-4-5 of Flagg, Barnes, and Poeltl as your defensive backstop. Probably makes RJ Barrett look a lot better. You're insulated against injury way more effectively, which is a thing this team just hasn't had in recent years. It'd be really cool to have just this wealth of really good players you can slot in and out and, filling in the need that in the case where you need a contingency plan, right? It's, I think that would probably qualify again as a situation where paying the tax is probably worth it if you're the Raptors. And so, yeah, like next season it's already going to be pretty fun. I think it gets super fun, super interesting really quickly if Cooper Flagg somehow ends up on the Toronto Raptors. 7.5% chance. Speak it into existence, baby. I would like it even more for the next 5 to 10 years and sort of what it means for the franchise. We will examine what that would mean coming up here to close out the show in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers, that is, an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. And look, this is obviously not just the NBA playoffs you got going on. You got the hockey playoffs going. You got baseball season at full tilt. You got the NFL draft. You can throw some bets down on who's going to go where, who's going to be the first quarterback picked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, I'm a big advocate as a not super common sports bettor of the happiness hedge. I am prepared to be sad in some way, shape, or form by the time this spring is over when it comes to my beloved Toronto Maple Leafs. But if I bet against them to win and they lose, I get some money out of the deal. And that makes me feel at least a little bit better because the Leafs have me dead inside. It's not so great. Either way, up 1-0 Ottawa. We love that. It's probably all going to end in disaster and tears at some point, even if it's not the first round. Either way, don't miss out. Do the happiness hedge. Head to FanDuel.com. Claim your $250 in bonus bets today. An official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Wrapping it up here on your Monday edition of Locked On Raptors, dreaming about Cooper Flagg. We got lots of fun stuff coming up this week, by the way. Big V will be back tomorrow. We'll probably play a stupid little game with him, as we love to do on the podcast. We've got Joseph Gasharo from The Score hopping on. We're going to review our bold predictions from the start of the season. So, yeah, if you like blood and gore, it's going to be a great episode for you to tune in. And then later in the week, yeah, the guy who won our Locked On Raptors Fantasy League, Cause, my nemesis in the Discord, will be coming on the podcast as is his prize for winning the Fantasy League. It'll be fine. We'll get through it together. Either way, love you, Cause. Okay, let's talk Cooper Flagg and what it means for the longer-term outlook for the franchise. I mentioned the first thing last segment, like just having him on a rookie scale deal for the next 4 years, it is the single biggest leg up in team building you can have, is having a star player on a rookie scale contract. It's hard to find because a lot of guys don't become stars over the course of their rookie contract. If they do, it's like year 3 or 4. Cooper Flagg is the kind of guy who could be giving you star level output as soon as year 2, maybe year 1, if things really break right. Like, that's the kind of guy you're dealing with here. And maybe that's too much to put on a guy. It probably is too much to put on a guy. We put way too much on prospects. 18 years old. It's a tough thing, but everything so far, all the little fence posts he's passed, all suggest this guy is the kind of exceptional prospect who probably will make an impact pretty quickly in the NBA. And that's a massive advantage when you're building a team in the new NBA with the second apron and everything. And as the cap goes up, those 4 years of Cooper Flagg, you got 4 more years of Quickley, you get the 5 years of Scottie Barnes. Like, that could be a pretty interesting trio with the money they're making. Scottie on the fun max, Quickley at 32.5, and Flagg on a rookie scale deal, maybe as your best player by the time that deal expires. Like, that gives you a lot of leeway to fit in the other pieces around. Obviously, Brandon Ingram makes $40 million next couple of years. I'm sure the next couple of years would be a testing ground to see exactly where Ingram fits in with a Flagg and Barnes duo. I don't think it's like an obvious no-brainer thing that it would all work. There's a lot of overlap there, sure, but I also think there's a really good chance it does work because I think everyone's kind of suited to Darko ball, et cetera, and I usually just think talent will figure it out. But yeah, like you kind of use the next couple of years as a bit of a test case to see. But if it doesn't work and Brandon Ingram's not the right fit, then you'll have lots of financial flexibility to go make some other move, whether it's a trade or you try to angle for a free agent or whatever it might be. Not that the free agency route is ever one that bears a lot of fruit for the Raptors, but these options will be there because Cooper Flagg gives you such an edge as a guy who doesn't make a lot of money on a rookie deal. And I think teams that have these types of guys should be going in real quickly to try to, optimize what these guys can do. Like the Spurs, for example, I think they were right to go get De'Aaron Fox this year. It sucks what happens with Wemby and missing the rest of the year with a deep vein thrombosis, but I think that's the right idea. Like, you get a guy like that, start building right away. The Raptors would already kind of be built right away around Cooper Flagg, which is pretty sweet. You know, we talked about a little bit of RJ Barrett and kind of what it means. It probably means that RJ Barrett's not on the team over the course of the next 4 or 5 years. Like, he's probably not getting another deal from the Raptors if Cooper Flagg ends up drafted here. But, you know, who knows? Maybe it all works really well and they keep the whole thing together. Who's to say? You know, it might even make, in hindsight, the Ingram deal look a little like a surplus to requirements. You know, you're still talking at the end of the day, though, about like a super buy low talent addition. And I don't think Flagg is so dependent on having the ball that it couldn't work out. I think he can fit with Brandon Ingram just fine. You also can't build your team based on the minuscule hope that you'll get a guy like Cooper Flagg in the draft, because the lottery is designed to disappoint you. And so don't think I'd like retroactively have a problem with the process of getting Brandon Ingram. You get talent, you figure it out. That's kind of the Masai Ujiri motto, and I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, if they were third or fourth in the odds, it'd be a little bit different, but they're seventh, right? You can't bank on anything. And so I think it's perfectly fine that they've gone out and gotten Brandon Ingram, and it would be, again, a bit of a test case the next couple of years to see just how well it all fits. I do think the ugly downside of getting Cooper Flagg, and this doesn't have to be a thing that's ugly, only if you're terminally online, but you do need to prepare yourself. If the Raptors do get Cooper Flagg, there will be a subset of the fan base that does the thing that Raptors fans love to do, which is anytime you get two players who are even kind of similar, you simply have to trade one of them, and it's malpractice not to. That would be silly, of course. That would be totally missing the point, missing the gift that is having Cooper Flagg and Scottie Barnes as the backstop of your defense for the next 5 to 10 years. Like, that is a ticket to perennial elite defense to have those two guys on the team together. You'd be a fool to just be like, well, you got to trade them because they're similarly sized and have similar skill sets. No, in fact, that's dumb. You should just keep both of them and figure it around them. You know, there are plenty of teams in the NBA that make it work with a handful of really good wings. Some of the best teams in the NBA do that. Yeah, it would just be, it's going to happen. It'll probably happen on draft night. If the Raptors draft Cooper Flagg, there will probably be someone who says, well, now you got to trade Scottie. That someone's probably Bill Simmons. It would be silly. You just have all this talent and defensive juice between those two guys and you make it work. I talked about the lineup versatility it would provide for you. Like, those two guys can work together for sure, because neither of them, you know, is this sort of heliocentric type of basketball player who must always have the ball in their hands, playing in a Darko system that is very egalitarian. It's just, you throw a bunch of really talented guys into that system, it's going to produce results. I feel pretty sure about that. And so, yeah, like, avoid the urge to be dumb and like loud and like, gotta trade Scottie because you got Cooper Flagg. No, just like have both. It's cool. It works. Again, it's your ticket to elite defense for the next 5 to 10 years. And it takes this team from a team that can probably talk itself into having, you know, a good run here of 4 or 5 years of being a fun playoff team, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 seed type material. Maybe you sneak into a top 3 seed one year where things get, you know, really weird at the top, or there's injuries or whatever. You have a really hot season or whatever it might be. But you're probably looking at just like a fun perennial playoff team without much in the way of title ambition or title upside, if you kind of keep this group together, barring some massive jump from a guy like Jakob Poeltl or something like that, or whoever else they draft in the first round if they don't get Cooper Flagg. But if you get Cooper Flagg, it totally changes the outlook. It makes this a team that will be in the mix for championships over the course of the next decade. It absolutely, you know, it totally levels up your talent to the point that you can actually feel comfortable wading into those championship conversations in those waters down the line. Not right away, of course, obviously, like it's probably 3, 4, 5 years from now where you're kind of in that conversation, but you can build towards that starting right away, starting next year. And yeah, the upside of having Cooper Flagg, I mean, it would completely change the franchise's outlook in a really thrilling way. There's no downside to it. You just get Cooper Flagg and you figure it out with a really talented guy who you got lucky enough to draft in the first overall in the draft in a year where you ducked into the lottery. Like an absolute godsend, a total gift from the basketball gods. And it would completely change your life, my life as fans. Probably pretty good for podcast business if I'm speaking selfishly myself. Would love that. But like, yeah, it would be transformative for the franchise and set them up to be like a very serious team for a good run of years, because they've got a lot of cost certainty, a lot of guys locked in on deals that, it still remains to be seen how they're going to age. Scottie Quickley, we'll see. I think as the cap rises, those are going to be just fine deals completely. And if you just kind of plop Cooper Flagg into the mix and all of a sudden in 2 or 3 years, he's the best player on the team and everything else takes shape around him, my God, pretty thrilling stuff. Either way, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for rocking with the show, as always. And just dream about Cooper Flagg for the next 3 weeks while you can, because it might never be a thing you can do again. Might as well live in it and have some fun imagining the possibilities while it's still on the table as a possibility. Either way, thank you so much for rocking with the show. Follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. We'll be back again on Tuesday with our pal Big V. We'll play a stupid little game as we like to do. And again, lots of stuff on tap for this week as well. So thanks so much for being here. Subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord, etc., etc. By the way, if you jump on the newsletter, subscribe between now and April 30th, you get a chance to win some stuff. Either a $200 gift card from Fanatics, a $300 gift card from Game Time, or $2,500 to Best Buy. You know how many Nintendo Switches that can buy for you? Nintendo Switch 2s, that is? Probably a lot whenever they're eventually available. Either way, go check it out. Subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't yet. It's much appreciated when you do it. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you Tuesday. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye. Damn it.